Hello, everyone. If you're coming from my other YouTube channel, Nateson, welcome to Common Sense Gaming. Today we're going to be talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare. And I'd like to see a raise of hands if you have purchased this game and played it, because my hand is currently raised. I have played I have played every single Call of Duty, all the way back to 1. My dad would drive me to Blockbuster as a wee little lad, and I would rent it for my PlayStation 2. Good times. So here we go. I played them all up through the Xbox 360 years up to now on PC. Played them all, and I play a lot of multiplayer, and I've gotten pretty good at the game over the years. I'm way better at Call of Duty than I am Overwatch, which is pretty funny. I still consider myself kind of an amateur Overwatch, but Call of Duty, I can very much hold my own, and I perform well. So, to cut to the chase, there is something in Call of Duty that is holding back the latest release. They're marketing Modern Warfare kind of like to pull on the nostalgic vibes on all of our hearts, because we were all very young. We were like 10 to 16 years old when the other Modern Warfares came out, and now we're all in our early 20s, very late teens. They want us to buy the game, but so we all buy it, and it feels different when we're playing it. We're jumping in with our old friends, and it's not what it felt like before. Why are games so much harder? Was it always like this? The answer is no. It was not this hard before, and there's so many things working against you. The main is something called skill-based matchmaking, otherwise known as SBMM. If you see it on Twitter or Reddit, you'll see it said as that. So what this does is, you can probably assume from the words, but just quickly sum it up, it's looking for other people that are of like skill level and matching them all into the same lobby as you, forcing your KD closer to a 1 point, because that's the whole goal of the system, and making sure that new players and whatever a better player would be can't get into your lobby. So this is really bad for you for a whole bunch of reasons. It's very hard to improve when you have no idea, like you have no gauge of how to improve. You can't see what better players look like. You can't see their classes. You have no opportunity to have fun yourself because there's no slightly underperforming players to play against. You're just constantly killing other people that are like you. And it's kind of a mess. And you'll see this when you try to play with friends, especially if you're a somewhat better player, which if you're watching this video, you probably care a little bit more about games and happen to be a above average player. When you try to pull some of your buddies into a game with you, you're going to notice that they're having no fun. Their KDs plummet to 0.2, 0.3, 0.4 in that range, which obviously is absolutely no fun, while you're still managing like a 1.2 or an 0.9 or something. Like your pace, you're basically at a 1 point. This is all from skill-based matchmaking, and it is detrimental to the fun level of the game, and this was not in Call of Duty 4 or in Modern Warfare 2, which is a real shame that they're going to play the nostalgic card for all of us and then add something like this in. And you can thank Mr. Seacott and Mr. Miniker at Infinity Ward for these unfortunately terrible decisions for what otherwise is an amazing game from so many aspects. But at the same time, you have skill-based matchmaking hurting your experience as a player. You have two other things working against you. Number one, you have the ability to mount to pretty much anything in the game. This is a insanely interesting addition to me. No one really saw this coming. In Ground War, this is a lot of fun. It's pretty much, Ground War is, as I've always thought, it's like a mess of chaos, and that's what's the fun about it. That's like what's fun in Battlefield. There's like nothing trackable going on. It is a mess of chaos, and that's fun. But when we're playing 6v6 Call of Duty on these maps, there's no reason that people should be able to mount. That's Ground War stuff. That's when everything is a mess. It's okay to die to people mounting the corner and head glitching. Like, it's a mess. Who cares? But in 6v6 Call of Duty, where you can actually communicate, you can push for objectives, you can solo carry, you can try to do everything. It's a real game mode. It's funny how I think of Ground War, but it's fun. I do love Ground War. It makes no sense that this was added into an arcade casual shooter. That's what Call of Duty is. Call of Duty is not competitive until you're actually in a tournament. Call of Duty is straight up casual fun with friends. It is an arcade shooter, and it is amazing. It is so lovely. But skill-based matchmaking, being able to mount to objects, it is incredibly strange from a decision and design aspect. It makes me think that they didn't know what they were doing with that certain direction. I think they looked at it as a marketing thing, just like adding doors to the game, which is funny how your game can not evolve so much over the years. Not evolve so much over the years. That adding doors is marketable. I don't have a problem with the doors. I don't care. They're just there. If anything, they do somewhat hurt flow, like on Crash. It kind of hurts the flow, but it's really not a big deal. But what's funny is that adding the mountable, being able to mount to objects, is something that they're going to talk about. And I think that's what they thought. Like, oh, this is going to be so cool to talk about. You can mount to objects. It's going to look great in trailers and in like reveal gameplays. It's going to look so sick. And it did. And it does look cool. It looks great. But it's very bad for gameplay. And that has been very reflective. And as you've seen, major PC players, the famous gamers and creators, your Shrouds, Ninja Summits, Tims, etc., they are not enjoying this at all. And it is this combination that creates a very, very, very slow pace of play. This is one of like the slowest Call of Duties you will ever see. And you got some other various elements working against you as well. Another big piece that a lot of people don't really pick up on if you're not like competitive, or if you're not like really into these games, a little bit fast on the TTK, which stands for time to kill. You're going to be able to take opponents out rather quickly in this game. Guns are powerful. You can slay quickly. You can drop someone fast, and it can be fun. But it is unfortunate because it does promote a solitary. Okay, I don't know the word. Apparently I'm dumb. It promotes gameplay that makes you stand still. It makes a lot of sense to camp in this game, which is a shame. Because in other Call of Duties, there was this really cool element where the player that engaged with another. Let me rephrase that. Where if you did not start an engagement, you still had a chance to win that duel. Essentially saying, if you were running like through door, if you're just running around a corner and all of a sudden you start getting shot in the back, the time to kill is high enough to where you can still turn around and out aim the other player. And that was always a golden aspect to Call of Duty. That's what I love, that fact that you can be the receiving end of a starting engagement and still have the opportunity to turn around and react and win. In this Call of Duty, that is not the case. You will die before you have a chance to react. And that's what promotes gameplay of camping. You will see it over and over and over and over again if you have played this game yourself. And it's a real shame. This stuff is so easily fixed. This is just taps on a keyboard in the Office of Infinity Ward to send out the update that fixes this. Now, I don't know how long it's going to take for them to reverse this. The time to kill in this game will always be the same. That's not going to change. But skill-based matchmaking could be taken out. That is a big thing that the community wants out. That's the big thing the community never wants in their games, I believe. I saw on the Reddit people saying World War II and Ghosts also had this, and Joe Seacott was also part of those. I'd have to fact check that. But it is apparent that skill-based matchmaking has gotten overturned before. With World War II, it was apparently turned around because it was just hated. And we can hope for that again in Modern Warfare. Modern Warfare is such a great game from the fact that like there's challenges for stuff you can unlock, like the cool weapon blueprints, which are really stupid, but some people seem to like them. So good for that and good for them. There are emblems you can get in the animated titles and stuff, and they're all locked behind these challenges, and somehow you do wacky things. And some of the unlocking camos for your guns have you do wacky things like crouch and get 100 kills, or the stupid one, mount to stuff and get like 100 kills. And then there's take all your attachments off and get 100, that type of stuff. And in a game that skill-based matchmaking is introduced, what is the point of trying to make your players do fun things to unlock like casual customizable accessories and collectibles? Like, what's the point of having them do casual fun in what you're trying to force as a competitive game all of a sudden? And it creates this really messy gameplay where if you get someone on your team that's trying to go for a camo, yeah, you guys lost because the games are going to be too close, and it's a lot harder to solo carry. And I'm talking for the majority. There are a rare few. I've been lucky enough to be part of that few, just from the amount of gameplay and time I have in this game over the years, to where you can't really seem. The game can't place me into a lobby where I'm going to get shut down like insanely hard. It's just like watching Nate Gibson as well, if you guys know him in the Call of Duty community. We get to a point where some of us have played for so long, we can kind of read how others play, and we've seen it all over and over again. And if we're willing to change to the play style of the game and to what we think is best, we'll pretty much come on top of any lobby. But that can't be said for the same for most people, because most people are going to play the game like normal people, casuals. They have a life. They're not like me. And the game's not fun for them or their friends, because if they try playing with their friends in a skill-based matchmaking lobby, their friends are going to have a terrible time if they're not as good as that player. So that's just some of the stuff I wanted to talk about with Call of Duty. I hope you guys are willing to give the game a shot, and I'd like to hear what you think right here in the comments of skill-based matchmaking, especially if you're one of the OGs, if you played COD 4, if you played Modern Warfare 2, and also played 2019's Modern Warfare. I'd like to hear your comparisons and what you think for the past versus the present. I hope you guys have a great holiday season, and we're going to have a couple of videos more out before Christmas, and I want to talk about VR in one of them as well, which is way out of my comfort zone. Have a good night, guys. Take care.